Alright, welcome to Mab Gaming. I'm Mab. The game we are playing is Transport Fever 2. I would like to start this episode off with blaming you, my viewers. I do it lightheartedly, obviously. So it took me a while to get this episode going because one, we tanked our economy with one simple distribution route. And it might be because it was our largest one, maybe it was our most important one, the one we're funneling to most of our other towns, cities, whatever. So I'd like to kind of walk through this and explain kind of what the blunder was and the easy way to fix it. So first off, here's our quarry. We need customers, or consumers. This is the construction site. This is where we're taking the stone. So a good idea is if this is lit up with we're shipping 300, that means that we're getting product and taking it there. Obviously you can also view this in our shipping little bar graph here, and then you can then verify that we are getting our product is if you come over here and then hit this, and then you go to supplier and it matches. Obviously it should match. If the quarry says that, then this will match what the quarry says. Now then you can look at your consumers and make sure they are actually getting their proper whatchamacallit. So there is a problem in Scottsdale. We are going to take a look at that here in a second. But I wanted to go over a few things just in case we were a little unsure about things. So routes, also have a problem with my video, so we'll also go to Fort Wayne real quick and kind of explain that. Yes, this is it. All right, so if you hit this little icon right here, you can highlight different drop-off points when you have one of these setups, depots, whatever. So if you highlight them all, then if this one's busy, the car will come to the next one. If that one's busy, then the car will come to this one. And it just allows you to have large lines and them constantly moving instead of waiting at one specific spot. It helps move your cargo faster and easier. And they will also, if they're like we have on this line, let me bring this back up. So at 2, we are dropping off stone and then picking up construction material. And so it doesn't matter which one they go at, they will be doing what we're asking them to do. Now, I wish I could go back and explain it, but I'm not joking when I say it tanked our economy. It tanked our economy. This is the construction material. This is the stone quarry over here, number 1. And I think I had it picking up construction material and then dropping off stone. Basically, I had number 1 set up backwards. And then when we came to number 2, I had them unloading construction material. So it basically brought this route to where it wasn't doing anything. And I'm not even ashamed to say this, I restarted the load save back to the last point we were at like 3 times because it literally tanked my economy to the point of like we owed like this bar right here where it said our earnings were in -2 million and this was -6 million. So I tanked the economy. So now that we have this set back up, I've tried to help this route out just a little bit because it gets congested. One, because if you look at this one and then my other save files, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I'll tell you this anyway. Where is the one that I'm looking for? All right, this one. So we have 88 vehicles. That's a lot of vehicles. In my other save files, I deleted those. Not all of them. I brought it down to like a 60-ish, maybe high 50s, somewhere in there. But with this, I was able to do that with the new setup anyway. And then if we go over here to Core East, I just want to explain this. See, I have 4 and 5 set up. So it drives over here, it'll either pick up stone from here or it'll pick up stone from here, drop off the construction material all the same, and then go about its merry way. Now if we want, I just want to show this off just so you guys get the idea of it, looking over all my colors. Now if we come over here, this guy, he's picking up construction material and loading bread up, and he's just responsible for spot 2. So the only point he will come into is this one right here and then leave out the same way. I also have to come over here. We're going to make our rounds. I'm going to try to do this as fast and efficiently as humanly possible so I don't bore you guys. Now for Rye and Hampton, we did the same thing. I have the drop off points here. Let's bring up our colors. I'm going to zoom in here so we get more of what we're doing. Now here I did the same thing. So when they get the construction material at the train station, they can come in and they can pick either one of these 2 stations, and then it will be dropped off. Construction here, bread here, and then I have a small fleet of vehicles that come up, pick up this stuff, and then go bring it in. That way we have a depot set up. We're not trucking it necessarily long distances, and then there's a short pickup to actually get this stuff. So like it's not necessarily a struggle and it's more manageable. Real quick, I want to come over here. I want to manage vehicles, and then we are going to feel like we need to duplicate this whole one because this is kind of looking a little thick here. But I think for the construction materials, we're doing pretty well on. Now let's go over to Fort Wayne. And Fort Wayne's where I realized that I had a problem. So now we have 2 different setups going. So our route that picks up the tools is now the Fort Wayne tool route, whatever. They're going to pick up the tools from this depot, and then they're going to ship them all the way to Fort Wayne South, which is right here. And then once they get here, then we're going to have a different set of vehicles come in and drop it off at Fort Wayne. Kind of like what we're doing with the fuel, except for this is our depot. It's close enough. I really wish there was basically either the fuel was down here, the whatever, so like I didn't have to have 2 different depots. But this might actually benefit Fort Wayne because we don't know what the other 2 elements or cargo types are going to be for Fort Wayne, so this is going to help in that sense. Now I want to come over here to Scottsdale because it seems like we're having an issue getting our construction material from here to here to here. So I want to re-look at this line. We need to find the turquoise line, and I want to make sure we have it set up. So one's over there, they're loading half construction, half bread, and then they get over here and then they're unloading construction and bread. So what I'm going to do, because we have the funds, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to make that one. I'm going to make this one and this one too. And then we are going to load construction and unload construction on this one. And then while I'm looking at it, I want to get rid of the do part because that we're not doing that anymore. And then come over here, get rid of this one, load this, and then get rid of that. And then we need to go to line, and then I want to make sure we're doing this right. Oh, that might be the problem. Scottsdale drop off. Let's go and make you number 1. So now there we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this just so that we get, not that I ever think that this is ever going to be necessarily a problem, but just so that we get that covered. So this one, actually we need to edit this one because this is no longer construction. This is just, actually we need to go all the way with this one. Bread. And then we're going to make this kind of I'm going to call that a puce. And then I think this is still line 1. We're going to actually, I'm going to probably make this a lighter red. And then construction to Scottsdale drop off. We're actually going to make this a really dark red. And then what we're going to do is come over here and we need to buy, I want to buy 15. And yes, put it on that line. And then I'm going to edit this in our normal fashion. Scottsdale. And I think we got that one set up. I need oh, yeah. All right, so this is the Scottsdale one. I was like, what the heck? And then I need to come up here and look at this one to make sure that it is actually on the part that I want it to be on. And this is 1, and I'm probably wanting this on 1 itself. Scottsdale transfer. All right. All right, so that one goes to 1. That one goes to 2. And then this is the construction one. And this, I think that's set up. All right, so 1, that one's on 1, that one's on 1. That one's on 3. And that one's on 1. We need to make that one on 2. I think that'll work. So we have 2, 3, 1, and 1. I think that works. Oops. Alright, so we should have now construction material going to Scottsdale, hopefully. I'd really hope that that would happen now. So we're going to give this a minute to kind of... Alright, yep, you're doing what you're supposed to do. And then make sure I have cars on everything. Yep, I got 2 on you. I got 2 on you. All right, sweet. So we are working out efficiently. Hopefully that will stay that way. Now, because we have such a large amount of money, what I'm wanting to do is to boost up our transportation. And I think the best way to do that at this current point in time is do a train station here. We're going to do cargo, make sure we do that one the right way. M to change it just for the, actually, you know what? We will leave. Should I make this one bigger? I think I should make this one bigger. All right, so I'm gonna bring this in kind of close here. And then we're going to get some tracks. Actually, it'd probably be in our best interest to can I not attach this? I thought I'd be able to attach this. If you hold shift and M, you can do slight rotations. And there we go, attach that. And then let's track this up. And if you do in short bursts, then you kind of save money, but at this point in time, I think we are okay. Maybe not. Keep all that at 75. And then let's drag this. Ooh, hello. What is it colliding with? Ew. Alright, so in order to keep this, I guess, safe, 75 there. And sometimes you have to do it in small little bursts anyway, just to help the game do what it needs to do. And then we are going to pull out of this. Actually, I think it'd be best if we went this way. And then we're just going to drag this along the side of it to keep everything copacetic. As we drag, it should just kind of naturally hook up to where it's supposed to be, where like you have nice even tracks. And do the little wiggle worm here. And then obviously give yourself enough space to kind of go in like this. And then at some point you're going to want to do signals. Now, like I said, the way I do signals is I drag it over here, whatever's arrow points that way, that's how I do that. And then just kind of go every couple of feet, reinsert some arrows so that one, trains are always moving, but there's enough of a distance that you're not going to get bogged down by, you know, stupidity. Because you never want, you want as less stupidity as you possibly can get out of this game. Or out of any game, really. And then obviously come in right here. I've learned, this might not even be far enough back either, but I've learned that that kind of helps. As far as when sometimes you get bigger trains. I learned that my last little go around. Actually, I want to redo this. We can do a small road. Like that. As long as that attaches, then we do. Alright, everything connects. So then now let's get trains. This isn't my favorite way to do this, but it does what it needs to do. How about that? And then we go to buildings, get a train depot, kind of line this up, and then it should kind of auto sync in there. Now let's add a new line here to here. And we are going to load on one crude oil. And then unload crude oil. Yeah. And then we're going to kind of make this a dark gray. I haven't figured out what would be the best line for this yet, but we will get there. All right, so we only have steam, but we're kind of looking at tractive effort. The higher, the better. That one right now is looking to be the best. This is tractive effort, good horsepower, and 34 miles an hour. This one's 28. That one's also 34, but it has a lower tractive effort. This one's 50. This one's kind of like a workhorse. So I'm gonna go with this one. Hopefully it works out. I'd just like to do this just so that one, I know that I'm getting the cars that available to me are the cars that are going to be beneficial. And then I just kind of like to decorate it up a little bit and kind of make it look, you know, like it's all weirded out. So we're going to spend pretty much $4 million. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this on line 1. Now, what I'm going to do is, because now I'm going to have to come in here and we're going to configure all of this junk. And make this look a little bit prettier. And it's just best to do this while the game's paused. Alright, so this is going to now drop off oil. Obviously, this refinery can't do anything with that, so we need to add some drop-off points. And I'm going to add a couple of drop-off points because this is going to fill up fast. So we have this one, and then I'm going to do street access for the time being. I wish, oh, that's why. All right, so this one's going to be the out, or that's the in, my bad. And then we'll do out that way. And then let's go over here, add some street access. This one's, what just went down? That was the weirdest thing ever. Seriously? We can't make this work. Interesting. Alright, I don't even care. That'll work, and then we can place this one in like that. Alright, so let's go to our lines, and then I want to shrink this one down. So alright, so we're going to restructure this. So we're going to add a station here, and then add another station here. And then for the time being, I'm going to make this a bright pink color so I can see it. And then we are going to load crude oil and then unload this. And then over here, we're going to load this oil and unload that. And I need to come over here and make sure that, all right, so starting at 3, and then get 3, 2, 1. And then we need to, okay, that'll work there. And then come over here and make sure none of these lines are crossing, which so far so good there. Oh, nope. All right, so this is 2. So we want 3, just like that. And then now we can change the color back to oh, I'm trying to find a solid oil color we could use. Something we can see and we know it's oil. And then that should help our production. So everyone should start moving away. And then we're going to get this guy going. Obviously, it's not, I understand we could have used our money better, maybe set up a train route here, but it's all in good time. So, all right, consumers, we got to make sure that the Fort Wayne refinery is the one. Obviously, this is where they say it takes a second to get everything set up. So he's going to drop off here. We already have our carts coming in and figuring out, whoa, something's changed. We got more little lines to pick from and set up from. And then obviously we have crude oil that we're being made from this depot over here to this one. So hopefully my math and everything lined up the way it needed to, and we're about to really start blowing up production. I do want to eventually come over here. My issue is I don't want to have like 12 oil stations here. Like, that just doesn't seem like that would do us a whole lot of good. All right, let's go to trains. And you are loading this one up, great, at Fort Wayne, and then you're going to unload, yep, and you're not going to bring anything back, which, I mean, it kind of sucks, but maybe one day we'll load fuel up. And why isn't this, all right, it's figuring it out, consumers. And like I said, sometimes it takes a second for it to get going. And let me make sure I did it right over here. All right, so you're going to be picking up oil, crude oil, and then unloading that, which then that would go into there. And then 2, which is over here, we're going to be unloading that and picking up that. All right, so theoretically this should work. That's why. All right, hold on. And then see, this is another thing that you need to check. All right, so you see how when I click on this, this lights up. Obviously, this can't handle crude oil. So the issue is that there is no pathway lining up to get these two to where they need to be. And this isn't lining up the way I want it to. All right, so might end up having to take a loan. but I gotta reset this just a little bit. Buildings, we want depot. That's perfectly fine. Let's rotate. This. Tracks. That wasn't necessarily the way I wanted that to go, but sometimes what can you do? All right, and then now let's get this going. Hopefully this is not, yes. All right, now everything is hooked up. So now we should start seeing a huge amount of oil production going right there. So give our, ooh, that's not what I meant to do. All right, so give it a second for everything to bounce up. Obviously, we have a huge hole that we're trying to fill right now. We're about to start getting, I feel like, a buttload of fuel. And then when we get to a point where we can actually duplicate this, then that's going to help Cora and all of that stuff. And then we can then start thinking about maybe shooting in return some fuel this way, putting it over here. Yeah, and then making another area here so we can delete this road, and then we can start shipping this out over to Bakersfield, and I think Detroit's around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Bakersfield and Detroit. So we can start shipping, and oil is one of those best kind of resource because we can ship it like somewhere right here or whatever in between. Have kind of a large depot, something or other. We have gears that can be transported out here, and then we have bread. Like we could have a wonder train. Obviously it'd probably need to be a couple of trains, but we could do that, ship all this stuff out here, and then guess what? Now we're starting to make something with it. So, yeah, that's my spiel, and I'm sticking to it. Alright, so we're not fully loaded yet. It's going to take a minute to kind of get this thing set up. But now we're starting to get some oil. Our fuel line is going to dip down. That's, you know, supplying Fort Wayne and Cora. It's just something naturally that's going to happen. Probably what I need to do is, all right, here's what we're going to do. All right, so we're going to configure this one. Cargo, and then we're going to kind of do the same thing. Yeah, it makes these depots a little bit bigger, but I feel like it's kind of worth it. All right, so oil refinery, this is to Fort Wayne West. I think this is the one, and then we're going to hit you with 3 and whatever, just so we get you guys kind of moving. Also, it's right here. Let's do some street access. And I do this every time. Come on. Move. Alright, if that's the furthest one down, then that will work. And then we can come in with a road. And then just to kind of make sure it did not help us in the slightest. And that's just because they're way over here. Let's see if making... I'm just curious to see if that'd help it. What if we were going to completely reconfigure this? How much money we got? We got money. All right, so all right. So here's what we're going to do. Is we are going to do this one, and this is 2. So then we are going to restructure this one and go to 1. Now we are going to make 2 and 3 part of it. Unclick all those. So now our oil's coming over here, and then we can come over here to the bread one, and this is 2. And let's move them to 8. And then this black one, let's move them to 7. And let's see how well this works out. Obviously, we've got a lot of missing pieces in here, but this should kind of help refigure everything out, because then we have our oil peeps coming over here, we have everyone else coming over here. So that should make this a little bit more efficient, because we got a lot of cars coming in here. And if it helps, then it helps. All right, so once again, we click on this. This is highlighted. This is highlighted. It doesn't matter how big this gets, because this is the road access that counts. It's not, if I put a road access over here, it also help, but it doesn't matter. I think these can only get so big anyway, but if we went, hypothetically, if we went from here all the way to Cora, made a depot that big, then it would still be connected to this. It'd make the route a lot easier, that's for dang certain. Whoa. And then this helps them go, because if we look at this line, they're leaving out over here, but we have these 3. They come in, funnel in, get what they need, and then they're out. And obviously it makes this line a little bit chaotic, but as long as everything's moving, nothing should really have a big problem. So we're going to give this some time to set up, get going. Obviously it's in production. We got 66, which we're still not even filling up this train. We're getting close to it, but we're not there yet. Nope, I want to click this. We're sending out about 190, about 120 right now. That's going to boost up, because now we're demanding more. We're getting more going here. This might get back up, going bigger. And then obviously our fuel's going to really start ramping up, just because now we're having a lot more come into it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Transport Fever. It was a big pain in the butt for me, I will say that, but I'm glad we got to where we got to in the end. We're now making money. We got some of our depots set up for the future, which is always important, and hopefully it's something we can build on and continue from here. I will catch you guys next time. Remember to hit that like, subscribe button, leave a comment, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I will catch you later.